So welcome to Milk and Whiskey. And usually this podcast is where you're going to get a tall glass of recovery with a shot of humor. You know, that's the whiskey part. And I don't feel the need that I should take people through why we call it Milk and Whiskey I think I've already broke it down to you, right? So, so today I have Sarah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have my lovely fiance, Mariah. And so obviously recovery isn't just from alcohol and drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I wanted you here. I wanted you to kind of give me like a little background on your life, if you can shed some things that you've had to recover from in your life, from I mean childhood or whatever you want to talk about. This basically the Sarah show today. Yeah, because we've had our own conversations and I've learned a lot about you, and a lot of things that you've told me was very interesting. I'm just like, and she's not using drugs? Like how you told me earlier.
Yeah. Understandable.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy time. Okay, well, you want me to say why, explain why I haven't?
So no, just give me some context about your life. Where did you grow up, and how was that like with your? I know you're the only girl. No, you have a sister, right? But you have
a lot of brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I grew up in New York. And I moved here, I think, around 10 years old. So I didn't live there very long, but I remember a lot of it. And so when I grew up there, even in that short time, but later on, as I got older too, we lost quite a few people in my family. So I think just the awareness that there was, just knowing of tragedy, I guess you could say, from a young age was there. And my dad, his father died of alcoholism, or, to do with that when he was 10. And so he then too was in the streets, and he was on a lot of drugs and drinking since he was very, very young. And then when he was 21, he was shot and thought he was going to die. And so he was like, okay, God, if you let me live, I'll change my life around. And he did. So he became clean right away. He got involved in a church. And so when I grew up, seeing his example of what that's really like having real faith and completely changing his life around, I admired that so much, And then as I got older, I realized, how much more addiction was prevalent in my family. And my mom's parents were both alcoholics as well, but they started recovery when she was a teenager. And then in my dad's family, there were a lot of issues with addiction. So I kind of grew up seeing that and seeing where that results, how that ends up. And then even my aunt who lived with me that I was really close to, her and her fiance, she was 8 months pregnant. They went on a date and they were killed by a drunk driver.
Oh, no.
So I think just seeing a lot of the results as a kid, it helped me ahead of time to be okay, this is how you avoid that from happening. And that was in my mind. And then my brother that's a year older than me, he struggled with addiction from mid-teen years. So I saw that a lot, with him being so close in age, he took a lot of that out on me. And so I guess as a young age, it was something that I never wanted to be part of. But then as I got older, I just started to understand more why people use any type of drug or drink or whatever, just to attempt to not feel the pain. And so I got married at a young age, 20, I believe I was 20. And I was with him for 17 years. I was married for 15 years. And one of the blessings, I guess, of that it was a very difficult, painful marriage, but he was very, very much against drinking or taking like even medication or anything like that. So in a way that was good too, because I think certain things that I experienced as a child and in that marriage, I probably would have more likely leaned that way.
Yeah.
And I think I just always knew, like, my mom is a saint. She's like naturally born a saint. You can just tell certain people, like, they just long to do what's right very easily. And two of my siblings are that way. The rest of us got my dad's genes. And I think I just knew from a young age, like, especially as my younger brother ended up in a lot of trouble. And the older one, I was like, I'm a lot more like them than I realized. Like, I really want to be like Mother Teresa. But at the same time, I've always dreamt like of being the wife of the Don of the Mafia. Like, that feels more like what I would want to be. So I kind of noticed like it's a lot harder for me to do good and the right things than not. And so I guess I just thought from a young age, like, you can't even dabble in these things. Like, there are people who can dabble. Like, I've seen, people who they can drink and they can even, like, partake in different drugs and stuff recreationally. And I just always knew like that wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
And so after my divorce, I was 35, then I started experimenting with some things. Like I said, I hadn't drank before then. So here and there, I guess I did drink a couple times, but it was never, anything major. And so that was a struggle for me because it's so easily accessible. And it's to other people, they're like, oh, let's go get a drink. Let's go do this. Or it's not something that you're necessarily embarrassed by or think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, because it's socially acceptable.
Yeah, it's socially acceptable. It's so easily accessible as well,
Yeah.
And so, and even with, I've had some major surgeries, neck and back surgery and brain surgery and stuff. So even in that pain, I know like migraines came from it, different things. I would always hear that weed could help with that. So there was a period of time, because I wasn't sleeping, I was in so much pain that I would smoke or get, edibles or whatever. But I just realized very quickly, even with that, it makes me just not care about things. Like I just kind of,
So you said neck and back surgery?
I had neck and back surgery, and
What was for what?
I had been in a really bad car accident.
Okay.
And it wasn't taken care of at the time. It should have been so years later. It ended up causing a lot of problems. And then they ended up doing like an emergency surgery. Then like I had neck surgery, and then a week later I had back surgery.
And then you said you also had brain surgery?
Brain surgery a few years ago because I had a brain tumor.
Okay.
So, but I noticed with that, like I said, the propensity to be somebody who doesn't care about, like.
How did you find out you had a brain tumor?
I had really bad migraines, like every day for weeks. I was vomiting a lot and just felt really off, but I was teaching. So I think I just kind of blocked it out probably for longer than expected. And then it started to be where like my vision was going, and I just knew like something's really wrong. So I went to the hospital.
You're like, I can throw up for weeks and have headaches, but as soon as I can't see, I'm like, there's something wrong.
I'm like, yeah. Well, I remember a student saying to me, a student was like, Miss Sarah, there's still some puke on the toilet. Can you clean it?
What?
And I remember thinking, like it just dawned on me, like, that's weird that you're puking so much that like, it just didn't register for me. But because of different things I've gone through in my life, unfortunately, vomiting or migraines or stress, like it's not something that,
so it doesn't throw up any
out.
red flags. It's like,
right. It's kind of like, yeah, you're probably stressed or whatever.
I would have thought that too.
Yeah,
these kids are stressing me out.
Yeah. And there just was like a lot, going on. So I didn't think much about it then. But then, so when I went to the hospital, they said that I had a tumor, but it was safer to keep it in at the time. And so, whatever, we dealt with some things medically, and it wasn't until 2 years later that that it got much worse, and that was more like fainting and things were going on, and it had doubled in size and it was still growing. So they were like, we have to get it out at that time. So, yeah.
And how was that recovery?
It was hard. It was really hard. Even before the surgery, I had hemorrhaging on my brain, which is, it kind of has like similar symptoms to...
It's like bleeding.
Like a stroke?
Right?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a stroke, yeah.
Mm.
So for that, I was like, I couldn't walk well, like I was wobbling.
Oh.
I was losing my vision much more because the tumor was pressing on my optic area or whatever. And I just couldn't really function very well at all. I was like losing my speech and all of that. So the waiting time, there were doctors that wouldn't do the surgery because if it's more than 50% chance that you could die, they won't risk doing it. They're like, no. So they couldn't do a craniotomy because of where it was. They were like, that's too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too big to do it the way that they go through your nose and they drill a hole through your skull. It was too big. So those doctors wouldn't do it.
They suck it out through like a straw?
I don't know, but they get it out somehow. They drill a hole in your skull and then they get it out. So there was somebody at the church, actually, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for a doctor, a brain surgeon that he asked him, he's like, I think you could help her. Can you please help her? And I met him and he was the sweetest guy. And his dad is a missionary in Puerto Rico too.
Mm.
And so my friend Jessie took me and she was like, she runs a school and she does, this and 100. We need her. And she kind of like preached. I could barely speak at the time, so I'm just like, please help me.
Wow.
And he did. He chose to do it. And so it takes him and then an ENT surgeon because she, I guess, knows about drilling through your nose and he knows how to get the tumor. So they broke it up into pieces in order to get it out. But that recovery was very, very difficult, like worse than the neck and back ones. It was just like the pain was so...
Where was the pain at?
And it felt like in my skull because they had drilled a hole, into it. And it was bigger than they usually have to do. And then they pack it. But I was vomiting a lot of the packing and stuff, for weeks. But the pain, I guess I think of it like, how if somebody hits you in the nose or something hits you, like it's so sensitive.
That's where it feels?
So it just felt like this constant pressure and pain. And then even things like sneezing or just random things, it would feel like your head was going to explode.
I didn't even think about that. I'm like...
So they would tell you like you'd have to, I don't know, it was so painful. Like I remember at one point just like crawling around on the floor in my living room, like I can't do this, So even at that time I remember...
Did you have any pain meds or...
Well, they gave me some and because of the one time that I had to take pain med, like after my neck and back surgery, I was supposed to take off, you're supposed to take off 15 to 18 weeks because of those two surgeries. But at the time at the school, long story, doesn't matter, but I really needed to come back to work after 2 weeks. And so I was taking the pain medication, trying to get better to come back to work within the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just remember how horrible it was after I didn't have any more. And thinking like, if I didn't, it's almost like you have the pain, but then you take the pain medicine and where it wears off, the pain's twice as bad because now you knew what it felt like not to have it. So I felt like if I start taking that now too, like it's going to feel a lot harder to get off of it. So I was trying not to, but then I had to. So I have a doctor who's really great about being natural. And I'm like, I want you to give me this much and then don't let me come back and get more. And so I think I took it for like a week. But because of that, the pain it was really hard to recover from that. But the same thing, I went back to work fairly soon after. But the recovery mentally and emotionally was much worse than the physical pain for that one. Because it kind of like your personality changes and it felt like the filter that you have when you're thinking through things.
Yeah. That
was gone. And most of my life, I was able to be very quiet and very robotic. And, I run a school where parents are very tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm leading a whole staff and all these students. So it felt like that filter was gone and I was saying things like very abruptly and very harshly. And so I just felt like a different person. And the way that affected some of my relationships was not good. Some of them ended completely.
Yeah.
So I just felt like trapped in a different body. And that was 3.5 years ago. And it's still been a struggle since then, to be honest.
So like
that's usually like when things happen on the right side of the brain, personality can be affected. I don't know where it was, but I remember working in the hospital setting and like some of those similar situations and working with patients that had right.
Yeah.
So it removed your filter?
That's how I describe it. But
like your pragmatic skills, like your social skills.
So you basically became more like me.
You're one of the people that I've had to be like, hey, I'm so sorry about that. What was happening? Because it's like, people think things, but you also know, like, I would never want someone to speak to me that way. So why am I? And I've had like these, volcanic situations where I hold things in and then all of a sudden it comes out and it's like Crazyville. And I used to be able to be really in control of my emotions and thoughts, so you just feel very vulnerable and exposed. But I have a therapist now who's really, really great. And she recommended me doing a group. It's like a group therapy type thing from the Brain Institute. And so it's like a Zoom of all these people who've had brain surgery. And it actually has been super helpful just to be like,
do you guys get to say whatever the hell you want on there?
Yeah, well, like they ask you prompting questions and stuff, but I'm like, oh, so it's not just me. Like, especially if people are married or like,
we all don't give a fuck.
Yes, no, literally, they're like, well, I lost my spouse or lost my whatever. Or some of them explain how their significant other helped them through it. I'm like, oh, that sounds nice. But then my poor kids, I'd have to be like, guys, I would show them research. I'm like, guys, there's proof. This is what is happening, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But they've been really great about it. They're always understanding, and it's gotten better a little bit over time, but it's still a struggle for sure.
Yeah, you would if no one knew you, you would never know that you have gone through that at all.
Well, if you're around me long enough, you'll say something is really off with her for sure. But
yeah, like the first year in Honduras, she's like, "Can you not play country?"
I know. I said, nobody can work to country music. This is horrible. And then I thought, I don't even know this guy.
Like, I grew up around a whole bunch of racist people.
Because I never knew. And we sit in a van together and all of a sudden I think I can say.
You're like, can you please stop?
Yes, no. And then I think I even said to you, I can tell you're pretending to be a lot dumber than you are. Do you remember I said that to you?
Yeah.
And I was like, which I guess is a compliment to say you're smarter than
you. said that?
Yeah, and I was like, why do you do that? Why do you pretend to be so dumb? And you just laughed and you're like, I think it's funny. And I was like, but I'm right? Like I've had conversations where I'm like, oh, he's intelligent. And then others where I'm like, you're not that dumb, stop. And then but you took it well. You're like, yeah, I think it's funny.
It's not only funny, it's just like, it allows people to be a little bit more themselves.
Yeah.
But then when some people realize how smart I really am, there's like, oh, then they kind of close off.
Really?
I mean, that's what, in my experience of what I've had, because some people, or either that, or they become very combative, or they're like, they're very resistant to accepting anything I have to offer. Because I know I can be very arrogant, and whenever I know something to be right or know something to be exactly what it is, I'm very arrogant and I don't care. And I'm like,
and sometimes people don't like that challenge.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'd rather just play the dumb. So then I stay. It keeps me open minded, and it allows me to be human because I am. And I think I have my own challenges too with social skills, and I mean, I've been working on it a lot. A lot has changed over the last weeks, mainly because I've been focusing on how to speak, right?
Okay.
On how I can get my point across as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, where people can actually take it in, and use it. Because that's what the whole point is like, what the hell is the point of me knowing all these things on how to cope with emotions and deal with stressors or temptations, and then never share that with anybody, or nobody, never being able to share it in a way to where people will receive it.
Right.
my biggest challenge is like, how am I going to translate that to my son, righteous? I'm like, slowly I've been like mixing in implementing the skills that I've been learning with the thing that I've already been doing with him was like motivation through humiliation, you know.
And sometimes I have to tell him, like, babe, you need to stop.
I'm like, the thing is that what I've noticed is that since he's like, I've been mixing in other tactics on like motivation. Like, I've been telling him, like, God is going to use you to lead. So stop being a follower. You don't need to follow anybody. My God, like, we're going to teach you how to speak. We're going to teach you how to read. We're going to teach you how to do this because God needs you to lead his people. Like, you're going to be very influential. And
that's more of a positive way to motivate him. That's good.
Yeah. So like, and I'm like, whenever I see you doing these things where it's not serving you, it's just not serving you, so the things that haven't been serving me and helping him, I've been slowly removing without, like, if I remove everything all at once, then it's going to feel like it's fake.
Right.
So then I'm like mixing him in to where it's going to be where he's going to feel I know he already feels the transition, but yeah, I mean, I feel like he can use a lot of the skills that I'm learning myself.
Yeah. And that's always the biggest thing, I think, for kids is like so many adults think they can control a kid and they think that they can keep them from doing it. We've talked about this before. They think they can keep them from doing the things that they did. But kids always watch what you're doing more so than what you're saying. And so if they see real faith means doing the things that are hard and they see your example, like, oh, that really did work. I love seeing my dad this way. Yeah. And I want to be more like that. It's very different if you just tell them to do it, but you're not doing it yourself.
Well, whenever I say motivate through humiliation, isn't necessarily his humiliation, because I also break it down to him. I'm like, these are the things that I had to live through myself. So I'm trying to protect you from having to live through that.
Yeah.
Like, bro, being in a class and then them calling on you to read and then you being the slowest, like, hardest person to read, you don't think that people are going to make fun of you? I'm like, I've been made fun of. Like, you have these issues because I had those issues.
And you're trying to help him sooner.
Yeah. And like on the ride yesterday to my mom's house, I was telling him, you got to use like what are you hold on. I said, what is your unfair advantage? Like, what are you really good at that other people around you aren't really good at? And he's like, I speak. I'm like, no, you can't. I'm like, I'm like, what do you do well? That I'm like, just think about it. And then eventually he came to dancing. I'm like, there we go. I'm like, I didn't want to give him the answer. I wanted him to use
to really think about it. Yeah.
And then I'm like, how you can dance better than most people in your class, right? I'm like, how can we use that for you to make money now? He's like, I can teach them. I'm like, okay, so now we gotta. Now I got him an idea. So he's like, oh, now you got to use your unfair advantages. So yeah, that's been let's see where he takes that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's like different things are clicking. Yeah, now. That's good.
Yeah. So you said that this brain surgery happened like 3 years ago?
3.5 years ago, yeah.
So, like, when we went to Honduras, it was like...
It was 8 weeks before that. And Mike tried this. They tried to have an intervention of who was going to tell me I couldn't go. And I think Mike DeLong lost and he had to tell me. And I was like, I remember like feeling...
And you were like, whatever, I'm going anyways?
Well, no, because I remember feeling like, Sarah, you can hear how hard this is for him to say this to you. And your brother didn't even feel like he could tell you. So you just got to listen. And I remember like at that time I said, okay. And that was at like the 6-week mark, right? Because when we got the tickets and stuff and planned the trip, I didn't know I was having brain surgery. You know what I mean? It ended up being like, you know, that they could get me into this. When that doctor did see me, he was like, okay, we're going to put this as an emergency. And I was in the hospital, you know, right then. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But I just knew that I needed to go. So I just started researching like what things I could do to heal quicker and basically like prove to them like,
what
look,
did
I
you
can do
do?
this. I honestly don't remember. I mean, I knew like there were certain things I was doing, like what I would eat, and like I was eating really clean, and I knew there were certain things that you could, you know, even just dumb things like sugar and stuff like that could make it, you know, the migraines and stuff worse. So I was eating really clean. I was working out. I figured if I could prove to them, look, I can do physical things, and not have any, you know, in Honduras before, unfortunately, I've fainted a few times, or like different random things have happened to me. So I was like, they have a good point, and nobody wants to have to take care of somebody. So finally, I was doing a lot better. I'm like, look, killing it. And then I said, I feel like my mental state will be much worse if I have to stay here. Like Honduras is what I look forward to every year. And I've got to go since the very first year we went, which is almost 20 years ago. And I just felt like if I'm stuck here in Kissimmee and you guys are all in Honduras, I think that might be a worse situation for everybody that's here. So then I tried to prove it, and I said, if I'm not well when I'm there, I'll just stay in the hotel room and I won't bother anybody. Nobody will have to take care of me. You know, I'll do this or whatever. So they let me go. And it was the best. Like how I felt after that trip was significantly better because the physical activity, you know, that for me, that
you were like a robot. You were just like maybe something in the brain tumor that was removed. You just like you were just like, what time is it?
but I think like for me, the physical, like that's something I learned from my dad. He was a boxer. He's always like, to this day, he's 65, I think, and he works out all the time. And he would just tell me like other people are addicted to these things. You can become addicted to endorphins and to, you know, this good feeling. And so because I was there out in the sun, being purposeful, moving, I felt like I healed significantly more from being there, you know. And then I was able to work after that. But yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. It was a few weeks.
I mean, I did notice. I mean, but and like I was just thinking to myself, like after you said that, and I was like, that makes a lot more sense now, because I remember this lady who had this issue with her memory, right? She was like this ultra marathon runner, and she had like a brain surgery too, and then like she won because she didn't remember how long she was running for. So her body didn't even know. She just like kept going.
Wow.
She's like ran like 450 miles. And she's like, how long have I been running? They're like, mile 1. You're like, oh, okay.
Keep going. Yeah. I'm thankful that I got to go.
Yeah, that was when I that wasn't the first year was when all your kids went, right?
No,
that was the second year. Okay. When I say the first year, I'm saying the first year I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first year.
The first year I went, it was
just me.
Just
and then the next year I brought my goddaughter, Alyssa, and my son, Jaden, and Deacon. I consider him my kid. He was there too. And then the third year was last year that I brought, or I think there was, my daughter Layla went too. So I think Alyssa I took alone first, and the next year, Layla and Jaden, they all went. And then last year, Xavier, my youngest one, got to go, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I'm trying to remember. I'm like, it was so last year. You're talking about this year. Last year was Xavier, and then the following, so 2024 was when the other ones came.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. I was just trying to put the math together. I'm like, because time flies so fast.
I know. I already was thinking like, ooh, it's going to be January. That's when we start planning for this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know that like this year coming up, we may skip because we're planning our wedding, so like I know we were planning for January 10th of 2027. So we were trying to save as much money as possible for that. So, I mean, definitely would want to go, but man, this last year when we went, man, I know Mike thought it would have been a great idea to put all of the drug addicts in one car. But I'm like, are you sure about that?
I think our van heard it wasn't as peaceful as
it was not the best idea, because did I even tell you what happened?
No, but I just remember when we got out of the van and you guys would get out of the van, it seemed like very different energies. Like, because I usually
they were like, "Fucking finally get out!"
I don't know.
I
Yes,
should have been in your van
because I like to have. Well, the last few years, I like to go with the newbies because I think like, oh, like that drive over is where you
I
really.
think Brooke should have went in your guys' van.
I at one point, the drive from the jungle back, I tried to sneak her into ours because I came to the van that morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, and I said, Brooke, and I was going to be like, can you come in my van? I want to talk to you about some things, right? Which was valid. I was going to talk to her.
Yeah.
But she was in the back corner already, and I think she misunderstood. I don't know. And she didn't get to come with me.
Yeah.
And then when I told her later that I was going to do that, she was like, yeah, that would have been
That would have
cool.
been awesome.
Like, she didn't say anything bad about your van, but it was just
so just so you understand, all right? I don't know what exactly went on with her and Avi. Maybe because of whatever their own issues are with each other. On the ride there, and then everybody who's been on a Honduras trip, we all know how bad the roads are, right? And when you're in the back, it's even worse.
Oh, yeah, it's really bad back there.
Right? So like, and at night, so the van that we were in, he didn't know that it wasn't automatic, the lights, right? So we were riding on like the most like dimmest light. We couldn't see anything. And then like the potholes were just coming up on us, like boom, boom. We were like hitting him, bam, or he was like swerving, right? And my mom said something, and then her mom said something.
It was a mess.
And then Brooke said, what the fuck we just said to stop hitting the potholes, and then Avi's like, shut the fuck up.
No.
It was too much.
On day one?
Yes.
Well,
Day one.
and she's probably trying to be protective over the moms. Like, doesn't want them to,
it was crazy.
have
but she doesn't
pain.
Understand because she doesn't see what I see.
Right.
Because I'm up in
really
the front.
Hard,
I'm like, there's no avoiding these potholes unless we're driving 5 miles an hour.
Right.
And whenever we got to stop, I was like, Avi, why didn't you turn these lights on?
Oh, God.
So then the rest of the ride was better?
The rest of the ride was better. Every other day was fine. I'm like, he's like, usually the thing is automatic. I'm like, you didn't even try?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that ride, that's why I like to be with the new people. I feel like that is really sets the tone for how your trip's going to go. So like in the past, you just learn year after year what helps. And the roads used to be way worse before, like all like gravel. And so because of that, I'm like, I remember people getting sick or just like scared and stressed. And so that kind of brings you into the trip feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
So I liked to be able to be with people who it was their first time in the van. It wasn't everybody the first time, but it was quite a few.
Yeah.
And so, that just makes it like you feel like you can be the mom for the group, make sure that he has what they need.
It's funner too to be with newer people too, because like then you can kind of help them answer any questions that they have, and get to know somebody new. Like I already know everybody in that van.
Yeah, there was a lady, her name is Natalie, and she had started coming we were doing a Monday night women's Bible study. She's very quiet, and I just really liked her presence. I feel like she's strong, and she's selective about who she allows in her life. And we just connected more in the Bible study, but she mentioned wanting to go. And so then I was like, yes, you should go. That would be so great. And a lot of the things she would share in the Bible study that she was like working on or trying to grow in her faith, I was like, you'll get that there. Like those things would match up. And so she was really hesitant, really like nervous and almost backed out. And then she ended up going. And so she was in our van. And I just loved seeing like each day her progress in all those things that she said she wanted to get better at. And she was just like a really great addition to the trip. I felt like she worked really hard and we just had a great time. And there were people in the van I'd never met, you know. Brenda had brought a friend from Texas that I'd never met, and she was wonderful. So it just was a good group. And I saw them all, you know, like merged together. A lot of them didn't know each other. And I think that's one of the cool things that this trip does is, you know, it allows you to become a lot more vulnerable and open to what God's going to do overall, not just the work, but you know, you're more open to it. And then you get closer to people that you wouldn't maybe normally hear, you know, like doing normal life. So yeah, I really enjoyed
I feel like
that.
we've gotten closer just from the couple trips.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the first one.
Yeah, when you're sitting next to somebody too on those long drives, you know, you find out a lot more about each other and it helps. Like I said, I feel like because you're in a more vulnerable state there, it's
and there's nowhere to go.
Right. So
you're in a van.
So you just kind of like are open maybe to more of what God could do through each other, you know, through those connections, I think.
Yeah. It builds a bond that is very similar to what I would say we get in AA.
Yeah.
You know, because we're on one mission on a day we stand shoulder to shoulder, going into these treatment centers and sharing our story and trying to, you know, basically we call it going into the trenches. And then we go into the trenches and we try to pull them out from the gates of hell and their insanity. And, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but this is in a different sense, like, yeah, we're going into the trenches in a different type of trenches, and then we're trying to build something for a community that we will never know how much it's actually impacting them. You know, like the true altruistic movement of like, oh, I'm gonna spend my money to go to Honduras and give my physical labor and pour into this community and into this place, and never even know what may come from it or who it may help or whose lives are going to be blessed from it. You know, that is something different that does to your soul. And, you know,
for sure. And I think because we get so much done in such a short time, there's like this thing that happens with the people where you're like, we did this together. You push your body and your mind to a point that you wouldn't normally do here. And so it feels like you just accomplished something really big together. So I feel like that's why the group keeps getting bigger, is that experience, people long for that again. So you have a lot of people who go back over and over again because it's like something you can only get there, it feels like. A specific kind of thing.
So how did your kids like it?
They loved it. They all have kind of like a different take on it, I think. The first year when I brought just my goddaughter, she worked really hard and she's athletic. And so I think she thought like, oh yeah, we can do this. And, you know, I'm old and I'm doing it. So she's thinking, and I remember the first day we're out there and she was like, this is like the hardest thing I've ever done. And we're only out there for like 20 minutes at the time. I'm like, I know, because it was so hot and you're just in this, we didn't have the tent that year. So you're just out like in this open land, you know, with the sun right there. But she worked really hard and I was really, really proud of her. And then when the next year, when she went and her sister and my son Jaden, Deacon Tom, all of them together, like I loved seeing them work so hard. But Jaden, like that was something that he loved. Him and Deacon are very much physical beings. Like they love doing physical things. They love being outdoors and nature and all that. So seeing them bond together, and like he was like a machine, both of them. They didn't want to stop working, you know. And and that motivated me to work even harder too, because I'm like, I'm not going to look like, you know, I want to look like they got this from me, you know. I don't want to embarrass them. But so he loved it, and he actually talked all year about going back, and he had planned to go the following year, which was this past year. And they were all going to go back again together. And he passed just, the few months before that. And so that ended up being why my goddaughter and daughter didn't really want to go without him, because they, they didn't want to experience without him. And in a way, it's why my younger son really wanted to go, to like, in honor of him almost, because he knew how much he loved it. And it was hard too, because he was really excited to experience it with him.
Yeah.
But I felt like he grew a lot from the trip, because before that, he didn't think that way as much, like physical working is hard and stuff. And he says it now, like he just, he preferred to be a little bit more comfortable. He was younger, and but I felt like he really grew on that trip, and he worked really hard, and it seemed like he got a lot out of it. So I'm hoping this year that, we'll get to do it again.
I remember when Jaden went, like he's funny too. Like he had like this wound on his leg, and like it looked like all these flies were like eating out of his flesh.
Oh my gosh.
And he just like let them.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It was something, I can't remember even what happened, but
he got hit with a shovel or something.
Something crazy happened, because there were so many shoveling in the same area or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like wide open. And he was always funny about stuff like that. Like not like he could just make anything funny.
Yeah.
So I came over and I'm like, we have like a first aid kit. Do you want it? He's like, nah, they look like they're having a good time. And I was like, okay, great. He just loved it. I was like, all right.
Wow.
He's like, he's cleaning it out for me.
Oh,
yeah.
That's crazy, because they actually do that in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They do what?
It's a part of like wound cleaning.
What?
Like
Letting
putting
bugs?
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
So I guess he was right.
Like sores and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you said that he passed a couple. It was this year, right?
Yes, in March.
March. I know exactly what day, because it's actually my sobriety date.
Oh, really?
March 19th.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that now.
So like when that happened, and I saw, I was like, it was the day of. I'm like, now I was like almost like where I'll never forget, because of like I just can't, because it's my sobriety date.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it hurt me in my own way, right? And trying to take that to where, I mean, in a useful way, I always try to see how anything that happens could be useful, right? And I've been wondering, and never really had the opportunity to talk to you. And I'm like, how did you deal with that? Like, because obviously you told me too yourself that you haven't really talked to anybody, right? About, I mean, other than probably a therapist or any of your family.
Yeah. I more recently have started to do therapy, and I do have, I feel very, very blessed. I do have like a core circle of people that I've been close to for a while. And I do think of that a lot. I'm like, I'm really, really fortunate, because I can't imagine going through this without the support group that I have, that's made a huge difference. But I know you were asking me before, like just how I've dealt with it or whatever. And so the first few weeks I stayed with a friend of mine, and she's been one of my closest friends for, I think, 18 years now, 17, 18 years. And when my kids would go to their dad's house for years, I would stay sometimes with her when I didn't have them at home. It was like a second home to me. UV and Juan, they're so good, and they take good care of me. And so I ended up being there. We had just gone on a trip. It was spring break, so we had just gone on a trip all together. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. And we came back, and the kids were all still hanging out at my house, like kind of like made themselves a little pool party or whatever. And he had worked really hard to make that trip really special for each of them. And so that day they were hanging out and he was like, Mom, you haven't gone to stay at UV's in a long time. And I hadn't probably in a year because he wasn't well. And other than work, I never really wanted to leave the house. I always wanted to be with him.
Mm.
And he just was working through a lot of painful things. And so he just seemed so happy, after this trip. And he's like, you need to go see UV. You don't do anything for yourself anymore. And something in me, I was just like, that does sound good. Let me check with her. And so she was like, yeah, come on over. And we ended up staying up and talking, so late and catching up. It was really great. And so he obviously didn't want me to be there when that happened. So I was already at UV's house, which, in hindsight was a huge blessing. And so I remember just like laying in that bed and thinking, like I don't know how to explain it, but I thought like if you had, this is something that I'd feared, I'm like, if as a parent, like you'd think the worst thing that could ever happen is losing your kid, right? That just seems kind of like something it's kind of drives your decision making, right? Like a lot of parents, when they're trying to control their kids or be strict or whatever, it's because you don't want bad things to happen to them, but especially you don't want to lose them. So I remember laying there and thinking, this can't be real. Like this can't be like a real life thing. I don't know how to say it, but it just kept being like, this isn't real. This isn't real. And then
what wasn't real?
Like that he's gone, that he's dead,
gone. Yeah.
And so I think just like probably that first few hours, I was just like, crying or whatever. And then pretty quickly, I don't know why, I don't know how, if it was just a God thing or what, but pretty quickly I remember thinking like, I have to kind of be wise and research how to handle this, because I started thinking of people that I know that had either lost a kid or somebody had lost their sibling, and that their parents had turned either to drugs or alcohol or like just very disassociated because they couldn't handle it. And those people were like popping in my head. And so I couldn't, sleep much or whatever. And I just started watching and looking up interviews of people, of how they handled this situation, what things helped, what things were really bad. I didn't find a lot that helped, but I did see a lot of like the same reoccurring thing, that was that they were never the same again, that they couldn't sleep, they couldn't function, so they would drink daily, or I know a doctor, someone that I've known for a long time, she told me that just when she lost her husband, that the pain was so bad that she begged her family for street drugs. She was like, please, heroin, coke, whatever you can get me. I can't deal with this pain. And I remember thinking that, and she's someone who's like a very, healthy, natural person. And I just kept thinking those things. And I was like, God, please help me to figure out a way to focus on the kids instead of myself. If I focus on my pain, I'm no better than these other people. Like what would keep me from, like a lot of those people, if you knew them, you'd be like, there's no way.
Yeah.
It would be like my mom, like I said, a saint, all of a sudden being like, I can't, for some of them. So I was like, well, I'm, no better than them. And so then I started doing more research on siblings who had lost siblings and what was the hardest for them. And that was like a reoccurring theme too, that they felt like they lost their sibling, but then their parents too, because their parents were never the same after that. So I remember as soon as at least the second or third day, maybe even the first day, because I remember Mike, coming and asking me, the worst questions that you have to answer, like, do you want him to be in a casket or do you want to cremate him? Do you, just, different things like that you have to decide. And I remember saying, ask my kids whatever they want. And it just like, it was like logged in my mind at the time. And of course, you don't get it all right. You don't, I'm sure there are things they wish I would have done differently,
Yeah.
But because of that, I just kept praying, please help me to know how to be the best for them. And so because of that, I think that's what drove me to be like, I know that I can't numb myself right now. Like even, like the doctor had me on Xanax for like the first week. And the physical pain was far worse than even the brain surgery. Like I remember thinking, I know this is going to be mentally and emotionally so hard, but I don't understand like this physical pain. Like it was like a knot in my stomach that felt like somebody was ripping it out of me, like a constant feeling. And so it just felt like the pain was unbearable. The dreams, I've always had really bad dreams since I was little, but it would be like I'd wake up and I'd be like, okay, good. It was just a nightmare. And this felt like the opposite. I'd wake up and I would be like, oh my God, the nightmare is my real life, and so not sleeping and not eating and being in pain, a lot of those things make you feel crazy as it is, And so I just remember that the way that I felt taking Xanax was very much like a zombie kind of. I just didn't feel very present. So at that time I was still staying at UV's. So I knew like, okay, this is going to help me to figure out my next steps if I can just be calmer. But after that, then I told my doctor, I don't want to take that. I'm going to see, how I can do, because I felt like in my prayers, it was that I've suppressed stuff most of my life. And that's part of why it's coming out after the brain surgery, right? It's because it's in there still. I've suppressed stuff most of my life. And I knew that if I suppress this, it's going to make it harder for my kids. If I'm not present, it's going to make it harder. And so in order to, almost like modeling, like we said with you and right, just like I felt like I have to show them an example of real faith, but also like real feelings, real hard days, good days, because they need to know that it's okay for them as well. And even if they never, ever would maybe want to talk about it, if they've never want to go to therapy, if they would never want to have faith again, whatever the case is, I at least wanted to show them what was possible. So I would, I pray all the time that God would help me to do that. And I would be like, I'm 43 and most of my life, I would say, not like I've had a horrible life, but most of my life has been somewhat uncomfortable and involved a lot of trauma and pain. So I just knew this is either going to completely break me or it's going to make me closer to God than ever. And so I was like, you're already at this age, like you already have faith. You know that God is real and you know he can help you through this, but they have so much of their life to live. And if they don't if you don't focus on them, the rest of their life could be, and two of my cousins that I grew up with that I loved so much, their sister was killed in a car accident when she was 17 and they would have been around 13 and 14. And then an older one, like 18. So kind of like my two kids. And that was so painful for them that the older brother started using heroin pretty quickly after. And then those two brothers as well when they got older. And within the past few years, I lost both of them to overdoses. And so it was like a 20-year struggle in and out of rehab. And, they lost everything. And so just seeing that, I was like, that pain is so real that my kids, that could also happen if I'm not careful. Everything is so easily accessible now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for them, but it's obviously very difficult. But
I mean, from a mother's perspective, how do you feel?
I'm very proud of them in the sense that they're very good to each other. They're very good to me. And they could definitely be like trying to numb themselves. Like I said, they have access to anything and everything that they would want. Everybody has stuff now. But I'm very proud of them. Especially that they're so close to each other. They're good to each other. And that was something that Jaden always that was such a big thing for him. He was like the hype man for everybody and the glue, to everybody staying close and being loyal, and all of that was so important. And so I feel like they, are really honoring that. But no, they're doing far better than I could fathom, So as far as what they're choosing daily, but I think of it like, especially for my daughter, she had a twin when I was pregnant and I lost that one. And she always knew, she was so intuitive that like at 2.5, she was like, I know I had a twin. And for whatever reasons, it wasn't something that was talked about in our home. So the fact that she knew that, she was like, I can feel it. I can feel, that she's missing. And she was kind of really sad and struggled as a baby. Like you could tell that there was like the grief as a baby.
Yeah.
So then Jaden, though, he was like the one that could always make her laugh, and he was so good to her. He was so like intuitive too. Like he could figure out how to make her happy. So they were always very, very close. And then people would think they were twins. And she was like, "You're like my real twin." So then it was as if she lost that again. Like they would talk, all day, every day. And we're definitely each other's best friends. And the three of us were so, so close. So I felt like for her, a lot of people were saying, I'm sure to Xavier too, but a lot of people would be like, so focused on me. They'd be like, this is so hard for your mom. This is the worst thing a mom could ever experience. And I think in a way that minimized for them. Like they were like, no. And I would make sure to tell them, this is equally as hard, if not harder for you, because that was your daily, that feeling that you have this person with you daily.
Your brother.
Yeah. And he was such a great brother that it was, I know, affected them really, really bad, like I said. So I just tried to focus on that and not so much on me as a mom, though I know like it's always going to be painful for me. And I know not dealing with it is not going to help either. So I do therapy weekly, and I have people in my life that are like accountability partners. That has always been super helpful. So there would be times where I didn't feel my best, or I was like, I understand why people drink every day. I'm going to need to drink, and so I would stay with UV sometimes, like if I was really struggling, or, just where I knew somebody else was going to be accountable, But I think that as time goes on, like I said, I have those people, they check in, and I have all the kids at the school too. That's really important to me. And he was coaching the first football team that we had last year with my students. And so him and my brother and Mike DeLong and Justin. So he would come almost every day for practice and stuff. I got to have a lot of extra time with him, but he got really close to these students. So I remember even thinking like, I'm home taking time off, but these kids still had to go to school. And like to them, they're like, this kid that we knew, or like our principal's son, is dead. And like, we still just have to show up at school. Nobody's talking about it. Or some of their parents at home were talking about it in great detail. And so in their little minds, I felt like this is really important that they know that, like how to deal with this in faith, So I would start to come at least for chapel on Fridays and, pray with them and talk to them. A lot of them would cry and talk about it. And I just felt like that was how it's how he's helped me all these years, like giving me this school where my kids got to be with me and where all these kids, it's like that's been the biggest accountability for me, is because knowing that if I screw up, or if I'm not a person that I say that I am, that their faith could be tainted. Wow. And obviously I'm very flawed and have done terrible things that I'm thankful for God's grace. But just overall, I'm saying the accountability to those kids and to my own kids, I think is probably what's helped me the most as far as not using, like you said.
Yeah. So like, that's what the solution is, right? For a lot of these things that happen to us. A lot of what we think we should do is like, we go inward, right? We go inward and we think about, hey, I need to fix this with something outwards to go in, right? Versus I need to fix what's in by reaching out.
Yeah.
Like the using and the using and drinking or whatever, to try to numb the pain is all completely selfish. Like, I don't want to feel this because of the pain that I feel because this person that I lost, me, is continuously the cycle of addiction, right? And isolation.
Yeah.
And you did what the solution is, right? That's what has been helping you and is always going to help you and any of us that go through this. I'm like, whenever any struggles that I've gone through, my solution has always been, how can I turn to somebody else I can help?
Yeah.
Turning to somebody else can help. Like, continuously look for resentment, selfishness, dishonesty, fear, and then I discuss that with somebody. I admit whenever I'm wrong. I make amends whenever I can, and then I turn my thoughts quickly to somebody I can help. Like that is always the solution. So I'm glad that you said that. I'm like, because in my eyes, right? Because you never had the struggle with drugs and alcohol. You're what I would consider a normal person. You have the normal reaction to drugs and alcohol. Like if you can drink a little bit, you won't let that drink turn into emptying your bank account or like.
I wouldn't say normal. I would say I'm a lot closer to.
You're a lot closer. Well,
to the propensity to be an addict is a lot closer than you probably think.
You're on the line, right?
Yeah, like I think
if
definitely.
Pushed.
Yeah, and I just think definitely God's grace. I think there's been times, only really with alcohol, but I think there's been times where it could definitely have taken over and become a problem. So, like, I have to put a lot of energy into, like I said, how the interviews. I regularly, every week, watch interviews of people who are addicts now and what got them there. And because most of them are through something really traumatic happened, it's always been in my mind, like, that's not far away from you. That's a real person who it's like I'm one step away, I guess I would say. And I think not with drugs for whatever reason. I think because I saw that, and I've always saw that, like, there's no control over that. I just knew probably if that ever gets in my system, then it's, it could be a wrap. And I've seen it so closely, like I said, in my family. But I think probably drinking, that's why that's so, like, I can't ever stop being so aware. Like my dad even, he was 21 the last time that he used anything. And he's the one that explained to me before I met you guys and how you would explain recovery, that it's every single day is a choice. So it's a lot of why he doesn't do much. He stays a little bit isolated because a lot of things trigger different things for him. And so I guess just knowing that, it's like there are times where I can tell, like, okay, I drank too much because I don't want to feel this. That has, been, but I also have to constantly tell myself, like I said, those things that are important to me. My kids deserve better. The kids at the school deserve better. And really that, like, God blessed me with that. I think to myself all the time, like, if I didn't have my kids, I'm so close to them. Like, they're my favorite people to be around. And they deserve the best version of me that I can humanly do. But it takes a lot of, that's why I think my faith is the most important thing to me, and why that's the one thing that I can't ever turn away. Like, I only get closer and closer to God because I'm like, that's the only thing I can count on, is that I know that he's shown up in so many real big ways in my life, that means he must have things that are important for me to do. But we're human. You can screw that up.
Right.
So I think, he's blessed me with the opportunity to have all that accountability with kids, which is my favorite thing.
So I guess it would be safe to say that you toed the line, right? You toed the line of maybe being a true drug addict and alcoholic, right? I was just thinking, I'm like, because you didn't, go past that line, we who have gone past that line will consider you normal.
Oh, okay.
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 So, like, maybe, like, in the way you view things, it may be different because, like, obviously we're the only ones who can diagnose ourselves.
Right.
Right. Nobody can be like, you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic. Nobody can say that. Only you and your own experience can diagnose you. So, like, because you haven't crossed the line, we will consider, you can say you're not, but, I just know that for most, in my experience, and you can take it for what it is, because I would just be like, well, a normal person would think that, I got to focus on my kids.
Okay.
A real drug addict would be like, I know I got to focus on my kids. I need to smoke crack. Like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
like I need to focus on my kids. Damn, I need to go to Colombia and like get lost.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just like the insanity portion
Yeah.
is there is like maybe because you've been protected from, or like you've always had an alternative and you had your dad there to be able to like direct you in this way.
Mm-hmm.
It never fully developed.
Yeah.
So um
I see what you're
God has
saying.
graced you with sanity in that, because the only person that does give us sanity is God,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like maybe I'm completely wrong, and you are full-fledged, but never actually became addicted
Mm-hmm.
because God has graced you.
Mm-hmm.
God has graced you with sanity before it ever
Mm-hmm.
happened.
I guess that's the
You
part I
know,
don't want to lose sight of. Like, you know how like when you put your guards down at all, that's when Satan would be the quickest to be like, okay, I got her. Like if you
Yeah.
if you think you have control of something or you think you're managing something, that's when you realize quickly that you don't. So I think it's
Yeah.
more like me trying to be like, hey, be careful, because if you don't, then this could happen. And I
Yeah.
do think for me too, like something that I wasn't doing for almost a year is working out regularly. And because I got that from my dad, I would say since I was 15 or 16, that's been like a normal part of my life. I've noticed it's helped immensely. And so because I just was working so much in the home with the kids, and it was just seeing my son go through a hard time, and just it took a toll on me in a sense where I just didn't prioritize that in my life. And then after he passed, it felt unbearable, like the pain I was in. I was like, to get up and go for a walk seems like I couldn't do that,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never experienced that before. That's always been my outlet. And so I knew that that was taking a toll too. Like I wasn't sleeping good. I wasn't physically active. And I noticed I had gotten really far off, really sick, and just not well mentally and emotionally. And so then I kind of like just said, okay, God, we've got to have a plan. We've got to make,
Yeah.
this plan. And that was maybe 3 months ago, 2.5, 3 months ago.
Yeah. Because we're coming up on about 10 months.
Yeah.
So
9 months, I think, but it doesn't matter.
yeah,
But a couple months ago, I knew like this is not like I was feeling good, and then it just kind of like spiraled. So I did make a plan of like, we've got to figure out how to get you to rest and sleep and not, work so much, and that I have to work out. Like I had to bring that back in. And so I would just pray all the time, like, please get me to want to again. Please get my body to feel like
pray
it
for
can. The willingness. And then it did. Like it's finally back to where like I wake up excited to do it. I wake up and seeing and feeling the difference in my mind and body just from doing that again regularly. I'm like, oh, I can't ever stop this again, because it is almost like those endorphins, and that feeling for me is probably equivalent to taking something, you know what I mean? So it does help me a lot.
No, it does feel good to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what's helping so far. So far, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember if I said this before to you, but it's praying for the willingness to be willing, to be willing, to be willing, to be willing. It's like unveiling layers of willingness to be willing.
Yeah.
And then eventually that'll end up becoming your routine until we're like, all right, now I'm willing.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you coming and sharing that. And I'm sure that it will help a lot of people, and as many people as I have right now. And I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up saying like, yo, I love your podcast. It's been helping. Like one of my friends just told me, I'm thinking about like next week or so having him come on. And he was up in New York, and he had a gun to his head and clicked the trigger, and it jammed. Brand new gun.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And he's like, I'm done. And like he's back here in Florida, and he's clean. So I'm like, I just got off the phone with him yesterday, and we were talking about. I'm like, I need you on here because he had his own little run for a while, but I know it's tough. These are the conversations that not everybody's having, and like, yeah, what's going on in the world today and whatever may be most important in whoever's lives, but I feel like if we can start within, right, within our community and within ourselves, and helping, that the ripple effect of like how many people we can help in the conversations that we have behind closed doors and within our own minds, the conversations that we have with ourselves are the hardest, and it's tough to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about those things. Nobody wants to talk about how much pain we're going through for a loss of anything, or the loss of anything is just like the fear of control, and the fear of control is it can point us to agnosticism, right? Like, what am I currently worshiping that is not God, right? Like, whenever certain things come up in my mind, what do I first turn to? Like, is it God, or is it shopping, or is it a cigarette, or is it alcohol or drugs, or is it prayer, or is it anything else? Like, what do I obsess about other than God whenever things come up in my mind, like come up in my day-to-day finances, or security, physical security. People are dealing with abusive people in their lives, and emotionally or physically, and what do they turn to? And I feel like if I can have this platform for people to like come up on share, then more people will be willing to have their own conversations with their own people. It's what the conversations that we don't have that cause us to do things that we don't want to do.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And
right?
just feeling alone in it. And I think that's why when you asked me, I'm like, I would never normally want to be on camera, but
I know,
because of me watching those interviews that helped me, like I thought those people were willing to put themselves out there, and just like you said, if there's a chance that one person feels like even seen and heard through it, then that's worth it. It's good not to feel alone in your darkest, most painful times,
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, I would take pictures of Sarah, right? And like, it'll be like her just calmly like in the van, and then like notice that I took a picture, and then like come at me with a fist.
That's how bad it is. I would say like, I will smash your face, and if you ever do that again.
I'm just
but
like,
he didn't care.
I'm like,
he didn't care. He kept doing it, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy's really gonna. Eventually, I just like had to give in because the photos were so bad because I would look so angry and so scared that I was like, just give into it. It doesn't matter.
I'm like, I'll break down the walls. I'm gonna have to do the same thing to her mom.
Yeah.
She's not into it.
Her mom's had these walls up, not because of me, but because of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
you're up for the challenge.
I mean, either some of the walls have came down. Like when the first conversation we had over the phone, she started cackling over the phone. I'm like, is that her laugh? I'm like,
yeah, she's starting to relax.
Yeah, she started when she was. I didn't know she laughed like that.
And I kind of laughed like that too, babe.
No,
like you thought she was joking. You thought there's no way this is real.
No, I knew she was real because there's no way she was not like really deeply laughing, because she was laughing so hard that she couldn't hold back any laugh that she had.
Love that.
She laughs like that, yeah.
And it was like, it felt almost animated. I'm like,
oh my God.
like, whoa.
Threw you off.
I mean, it felt good to know that she wasn't so rigid, because
yeah, she's not.
Hey, when I called her to come down here for the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up coming down. Like, we never really had any conversation after that, but I had went up to her, sat down with her, and I'm like, hey, I'm really glad that you made it I was like, I wasn't sure because you never got back to me on coming.
Yeah.
And she like looked at me like, I move mountains over mines.
You gotta put her on the podcast.
I'm like,
yeah, now I want to meet her.
Yeah. Well, I think she's coming down, right?
Yeah, soon. She's coming down. She wants to be involved. She said she's coming down sometime next year.
Yeah. She's like a lighter, older version of her.
Yeah?
Yeah. I would say lighter skin.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, so I mean, if there's anything else you want to share, we could, or we can just wrap it up.
I think that was a lot.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
But thank you for having me, and thank you for being here too.
Of course.
I appreciated that.
That's all we got for today. Thanks.
Perfect.
Of course. Thank you.
That was good, Sarah.
I know it helped me a lot that you were here. Thank you so much. Honestly, it means a lot to me.